Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Liberal Loudmouth, and as always, I'm here with.
The real Ron's going to be wherever the liberal loudmouth is.
Now, I want to clarify something. Together, we are the Loudmouths. Isn't that right, Ron?
I think that's right. I have my thing, the real Ron, which is a conservative thing, and then Tim has his thing, which is the liberal loudmouth. But when we come together like this, we become the loudmouths. We're like Transformers or an '80s sitcom.
I am the Loudmouth.
Yeah.
That's how that works. But I just wanted to point that out because there's a little bit of confusion. Basically, if you see me over here and Ron over there, it's the Loudmouth show. If Ron's by himself, it's, he's either doing a teaser or what have you. I just wanted to get that out of the way. So if you haven't liked the Loudmouths on YouTube yet, please go do that. We also have a Facebook page. So with that said, what do we got coming up, Ron? I think we have a huge story here. What do you think?
I think we do too. Vanessa Hall-Harper. I hate that she has declined to come on and speak to the loudmouths, but we did get a confirmation today stating that she had no comment and she did not want to participate in our wonderful American show.
Correct. Yeah, I made a good faith effort to, bring the other side in, give them an opportunity to say what it is that they wanted to say, and they've declined, which is their right. But the show will go on, as they say.
The show always goes on, yeah.
It has to go on because that's what we do. So I won't beat around the bush. We're just going to get right into it. I'm going to go ahead and bring Jennifer on. Jennifer Harmon, community advocate. Thank you for coming on the show again. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me again. How are you guys doing?
Oh, we're just fantastic. Ron, are you there?
I am. I'm here. I'm sorry. Hi. I'm sharing.
Oh, okay. He's got the links. He's doing the thing. Okay, so I'd like to recap a little bit. If you want to summarize a bit what we talked about in the last show, Jennifer,
yes.
Will you be able to do that quickly so that people that aren't familiar with what happened can kind of get up to speed so we can move on from that?
And make it really exciting, like fireworks and shit.
Well, I mean, I'll do my best to summarize, and please chime in. You had me on the show last week to talk about an ethics complaint that I filed against Counselor Hall-Harper, and it had to do with ARPA Round 1 funding.
What's ARPA? Tell us what ARPA
is. COVID relief funding. So
right.
The city put out this thing for COVID relief funding to C3 nonprofits, and her nonprofit, Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce, was a C6, but they applied under a C3. They slipped in an old tax statement, applied, and ultimately got one of the 5th largest awards for that round of funding. And she was on the committee that selected herself and her chamber and eliminated all these other eligible folks. And so I submitted a complaint, and I also sent it to the IRS, and that was basically the gist of it. And then that led to my asking the city council, specifically Phil Lakin, again, to take up the issue of redoing the ethics ordinance because the city council needs to stop policing their own ethics complaints. How about that? No fireworks.
Yeah, agreed. Now
that was very, very boring. That was super boring.
Right.
No, it wasn't. It was great. It was a good summary, and there were also some things that kind of led into this, almost what seems like a war between Greenwood Chamber of Commerce and Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce. Would you say that's kind of an accurate description?
No, it's not a war between them. One declared war on the other. And that's how it goes. It's never been an equal-sided, going at it. It has always been the Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce people going after the people at Greenwood Chamber of Commerce and the small businesses on the historic 100 block of North Greenwood Avenue.
So let me jump in here real quick because I love black people, but I don't want to make anybody awkward. The Black Wall Street I know. I can go from zero to ignorant real quick. The Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce, they thank you for my change. They have they're very new. Whereas Greenwood Chamber of Commerce has been there since I think 1928. Is that what I'm understanding?
I think they've been, yes, the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce has been an entity at least I think in the 30s. Trumpet on Greenwood explained it in his podcast over the weekend. The whole history of it. Yes, that chamber is part of just like the buildings on North Greenwood Avenue, 100th block of North Greenwood Avenue. They're part of the fabric of the city of Tulsa. And Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce came about in 2018 after a little while after an injunction was filed against Vanessa Hall-Harper for trying to take over the chamber.
Well, let's talk about let's get into the good shit, Tim.
Okay, so I've been holding on to this. I'm going to pull this paper up. Right here is this was a TRO that was filed by the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce against Vanessa Hall-Harper, as you can see here at the top, right here. The reason that they did this, and you can, I can link to this document or share it later. She had called a meeting between these members.
An emergency
meeting between the members of the Greenwood Chamber to vote on a change of the bylaws, which I'll get to in just a second. But as you can see in this complaint that was filed, the members of the GCC's board of directors were Rebecca March Emerson, Drew Diamond, Jack Henderson, Brandon Jackson, Art Williams, Joyce McClellan, and John Sasson. Now, the people that had called the meeting and an email was sent, and I'm going to pull this email up, which
she sent the email.
Right. And I hate to do this because everybody's email address is on here, and I don't have a way to blur it out, but
I don't give a shit.
It's on the public record, so.
It is, but I still don't like to blast that out.
Well, I mean, everybody knows who got emailed. That's who all she emailed.
So right here, yeah. So it says, please find attached the proposed amendments to the GCC bylaws. And then it has these amendments here, and I'm going to scroll to the end of this.
But she's not sitting on the board. She can't change anything.
Right. Well, so right here at the bottom, it says this Constitution was further revised February 2017 by the members of Greenwood Chamber of Commerce upon recommendations for revisions from the membership committee comprised of Vanessa Hall-Harper, Nikita Mays, Jamal Dyer, Sherry Lasky, David Harris, Sherry Gamble-Smith, Alicia Clement, Charity Marcus, Charles
Charity
Wilkes,
Marcus,
Denise Stevens, and Candy Whitley White. Yeah. Now, I bring up those names because none of them were on the board of directors for the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce.
At that time? Or ever?
Correct. Now, I don't know if they had. I know Sherry Gamble-Smith had been, but she had just been removed off of the board, hadn't she? Do I have that correct?
I'm not sure. I just know that in that thing, what Vanessa did, as it's stated in those court documents in that filing, she was neither membership chair. She was just like a regular member and had no authority to call that meeting.
Right. Guys, this would be like you going into Reese's grocery store, and because you've got a rewards card, right? And you're like, hey, y'all, we're having a management meeting. We're going to have a team meeting. Everybody get over here. And then everybody's like, what's going on? So then the Greenwood Chamber had to sue for an emergency injunction, which, by the way, I know all about.
Right.
So
you know that it's hard to get that.
It is
very specific parameters you have got to meet before the judge to get
it. And they met all of them, and the judge had granted it. Now I wish the Greenwood Chamber had finished that, but they ended up like mediating the rest of that. Yeah. So we didn't get to see kind of the drama that So
no,
that
Joe,
ended
they didn't.
that. Did anyone else call the meeting with her? No, I mean, it was listed in that. That was the email. Let me put this back up here.
She did this unilaterally, is what I understand.
This right here was the email that they sent.
She sent the email, and it had those attached. And I think the president at the time was savvy enough to, when somebody was savvy enough to understand when they read it. A, this doesn't meet the 10-day rule for filing an emergency meeting. B, she doesn't have grounds to file it. And C, if I'm looking at this right, she is trying to slip a vote in here,
Right.
and that doesn't say what it purports, what it would have done, which was dissolve the current board and chamber, so she can put her own people there.
And it would have. I mean, if and here's what's the odd thing about that is if they hadn't sued her and got the TRO,
Right.
then she would have been able to turn around and say, "Look what the Greenwood Chamber is doing.
Right.
We voted for this. We held a special meeting, and now they won't let us do what we're wanting to do."
Essentially, this is like a coup. Like she was trying to take over government.
Yes,
it was a coup.
That's exactly what it was. This was a forced attempt to force her way into that. And, you know, I can't read that document in any other way. I've tried to rationalize and justify the behavior. I can't.
Right.
So I always try to be fair. Ron, you can attest to this. I always try to see some kind of silver lining. I just I don't see it in this,
I mean, to the point sometimes you piss me off because I'm like, no, we're hating these people. Yeah, no.
It's like, well,
And
you
that-
know,
and-
man.
And to be sure, that was not, you know, that is
You've said it 3 times. Spit it out, Jennifer.
the action that she took, that was not an anomaly. That's normal means of operation for her. Now listen, props for being active, right? If you know you want to do something, get something done, okay,
just
fine.
do it.
Props for having that kind of incentive. However, when you're a part of a group or a larger group, you can't just go full force, because unfortunately, in that instance, she brought in a lot of younger people into the chamber and as members, and done some things that were actually good things, but because of this thing with the injunction, they had to take that all back.
Right. And that appears to be a pattern with her where I and I'm just speaking, this is total speculation. It feels like she has something that she wants to get done.
Right.
And with good intentions, the outcome that she's trying to do, but then she goes about it the wrong way, and it's like, I don't care how I get it done, it's getting done. We're doing this.
Right.
And you know, that's not how the world works. That's not how everything goes. But then, okay, so let's fast forward
And
from
P.S.,
this.
She was the city councilor at the time when she did this. A public servant.
There you go. I mean, so she had to have known better. I can only assume she had to have known better.
I don't know.
So, okay, fast forward us to the moment where Jay Morrison enters the picture.
Oh, this is what I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Jay.
You know, sometime after that debacle, maybe in the spring, there's this guy that is coming to Greenwood on North Greenwood Avenue named Jay Morrison, and he's having this thing called a corner class with the Black community, and he's talking about a real estate fund. He wants to call it the Tulsa Real Estate Fund because of Black Wall Street kind of thing. And anybody with a grain of salt after 2 minutes ago, this is some kind of con man. However, for whatever reason, couple of times, somebody introduced him and hooked him up with Vanessa and Christie, who's on their chamber board, and she's also with the African American Affairs Commission, and another guy they call Chief, who has the Tulsa African Ancestral Society.
I like Black people. So
this woman hooked them up, and then he came back and did some more corner classes, and then they hosted a town hall in Tulsa at 36th Street North Event Center, where he launched and pitched this crowd fund. That's all it was a crowd fund. And the idea was, if everybody gives the minimum $500, then everybody owns and can buy back the block. But he was also there and the people had things in their chair that said, contact your mayor and city council and demand Greenwood Chamber relinquish these buildings to us. And he said that on the news, and then he made $1 million offer. And he said, because those buildings aren't in black hands anymore. So the things he was saying, you knew where he was getting it from. And there were warnings from the NFL Players Association. This is a sham, and they still went through with this town hall, bringing this guy in and hosting it. There were warnings from local financial people. A lot of people were saying, if you look online, this guy's financials, this is not right. This is fraud. It's a sham. I mean, he had just filed bankruptcy, and
he was being supported by Vanessa Hall-Harper and the Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce.
They brought him in and hosted this thing, and there was this big media deal. And what's interesting is before they before they had the town hall, the president of the Greenwood Chamber at the time sent a letter that said, these properties aren't for sale. I know you want to make this offer, but they're not for sale. I sent you guys a copy of the letter. But they still went through with it. And I sent links, like Fox 23 even put this guy on where he made his demand, and so
wow.
It was just really, it's interesting that Fox 23
let me ask you,
not revisited and said, oh, by the way, we learned later this guy was a scammer, because he was a scammer.
Do you think
failed.
That the only reason that Fox legitimized him in that way was because he was surrounded with Vanessa Hall-Harper at the time?
I have no clue.
Or is it just the general? Because I think around that time there was a lot of talk about the race riots and all of that stuff, right? So when they start going into that whole scenario of let's try to fix something or give something back, everybody's like, okay, blinders on.
We should reach out to Jay Morrison.
Oh, right. Yeah. See, I mean, it's real simple. It's a crowdfunding kind of scheme. And Vanessa began promoting it through the chamber a while back, called the Power Group. Only hers is a smaller scale. So if everybody gives, they call it group economics. And her little clique of friends were calling it the original Black Wall Street blueprint kind of stuff. And
sounds like socialism.
It's a black guy doing trauma bonding with other black people who he knows are financially illiterate. And he knows all he has to say is, we've been suppressed. We need to work together. Put your money here and I'll take care of it. Well, nobody did their homework on this guy. And I know, Tim, you spent the day.
I was going to say, Tim did his homework. Tell us about this dude, Tim.
Man.
Well, you know what? Let me let Vanessa tell you about this dude.
Wonderful. I'd love to hear from Vanessa.
So this clip, I actually, it was just right at the last minute. I was like, finally. Because it was like an hour and a half program or whatever. I had to go through there and find it. But we got it at the last minute. And this was after Jay had gotten the money and had already bounced. And people were calling him out for, where's the money, Jay? Where's the money, Jay? And I mean, if you do a YouTube search for Jay Morrison, let the search results speak for themselves. I don't think anybody needs to make say anything about it if you just go look him up. But let Vanessa talk to you about this. The clip is a little bit long, but pay attention to what's going on.
And this is from August of 2022, right? Right before the election.
This is the K-Bob interview. Okay. Yes. So
I haven't seen this. Let's see it. Let's see what she got to say.
Right. All right. Here we go.
Expect to see, like, what are the results? What is a chart? Like anything, like I invest this. What a lot of people are like, what is it going into? So that we can make sure it's not like homeboy that came in here. What was his name? What was that dude's name? He took the Black Wall Street name, Greenwood, like did some investment stuff and bounced.
Okay, I want to pause it here for a second because she is saying what everybody else at this point had already been saying. And Jay was getting flack from everybody. So she knew what she was talking about. She just couldn't think of his name. And just wait for it.
Like,
Watch
people want
out.
to make sure it's
yeah,
not that.
I mean
When
that's
I'm sorry, say what, Jennifer?
I was gonna say, I want you to pay attention to how Vanessa acts in reaction to these questions. Like she kind of doesn't know what's talking about. Oh, you must be talking about Jay Morrison.
Right. Yeah.
that's always a possibility. You're gonna have people all over the country. You can go in any
Mhm.
any state or any city in the country now.
Is that Vanessa?
And find someone doing something
But
under the name of
people
Black
were
Wall Street.
given. People
Because-
in Tulsa were given to this man, like giving money, and it was the initiative, the Black Wall Street Initiative, or something that he did, investment group.
Was it that hotel? No.
Oh, are you talking about Jay Morrison? Oh, he's that's a fund.
Is it a fund?
Oh yes, and
Okay,
it is working.
Is it? Because
Oh, yes.
everybody was like, he took the money, and that's
No,
and
that's
this is
not
where
true.
I will say,
That's not true. Yeah.
it's not always
What?
the information that we
Just
don't
wait.
receive.
Right.
It's the misinformation that we
Right,
receive.
right.
So it's
Yeah, you
like,
can go onto his website.
oh, thank God.
And Google, and yes, that's an active
I
fund. It is
asked him a
legitimate.
question. He
It's-
didn't answer it. So I was like, I have a question. What happened? Where's it at?
Are you sure it's been here?
They said that he came to Tulsa.
Yeah, he
So-
did. But you
okay.
said you asked him a question. I thought you meant
Oh
on the
no,
show.
I asked him a question online. I was
Oh,
like,
online. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry.
He skipped over me, so I
yeah,
just wanted to know.
I'm an investor in that as well.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, they do more larger projects. Right?
Okay.
And so they came down here. They wanted to buy the Greenwood buildings,
Wow.
and them con artists over there that's in there now refused. And so
Wow.
now they owned by white folks. That's gonna come out.
See?
Okay, I'm gonna-
Oh, I got so many things
Now-
to say.
Okay, just
Yeah.
hold
Oh,
on. We're not done yet, but I want to point out what she just said. Now it's owned by white folks, and I'm
That's
gonna
what
touch
I
on
want to
that.
talk. Yeah.
I'm going to
yeah.
touch on that right after we're done
Ooh.
with this. Let her finish, and
Oh, this
We'll-
is getting good, Tim. I like
we'll,
this shit.
we'll use her own words to finish up the show at the end of the show.
Oh,
You know, they want
God.
to call me divisive.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's what's going on. That's what they're saying
I
in
like
this
divisive.
campaign.
It's my favorite.
My middle name starts with a D.
I was like,
So-
I like divisive, controversial.
Come on
I
now.
like all of
Well, the
that.
reality
Come
is,
on.
I'm not going to yoke up and unify. That we need to be together. We need to be together. We need to unify. I'm not going to yoke up with crooks.
Come
You
on.
don't
Come
see eagles
on.
flying with
Wow.
wings.
No.
Okay, and so that's the reality. And if you can't stand in front of the community and be transparent and be held accountable, then I can't roll with you.
What can they?
Okay, so there's
She
a lot to
can't- she can't
unpack
roll
there.
She can't roll with me, but let's unpack that. Yes.
Before we get going, let me
Ooh.
share.
Ooh.
Let me share this website real quick because I want to speak to her when she said that it's owned by white people. This is one of the buildings that they were discussing, and you can go through here. It's just public record. You can see right here. These Greenwood buildings are owned by the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce. Now, would you? Let me scroll in so everybody can read that. Greenwood Chamber of Commerce, and there are a ton of these, and they're all owned by the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce. Now, last I checked, the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce wasn't a white person,
Right.
so I don't know. It feels like she wants people to think a certain way about the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce. It's just a way to cast aspersions at them
Yes.
with no real evidence
Right.
to suggest it.
Correct.
Is that
Correct.
so? How often did you see her when you were witnessing all this? And because you've done a lot more research on it than I have. How often did you see that kind of mentality play out?
I mean, I saw it. Well, I mean, here's the thing: you can't be somebody who goes down to the 100 block of North Greenwood Avenue, and to see your friends who are small business owners, and a cabin. It's really hard to avoid witnessing it because that's what you hear about it. How's your day going? How things at the souvenir shop or at the Frios or wherever. And it's always something that's come up with her. they try to blame the chamber for why somebody got evicted. Well, if you don't pay your rent, you're going to get evicted, right?
Right.
Whole thing about, oh, it's going to come out. That's just something to stir the pot, because as Brother Muhammad said on his Trumpet on Greenwood podcast the other day, every time they make some kind of claim like this to stir the pot, when people say, well, prove it, where is your documentation? They've never come back around and been able to prove it, and they've always been actually proven wrong.
Well, see, here's the thing. We've got receipts, Jennifer, because I don't like to go at somebody and say things that I can't, show any evidence of.
Right, me neither.
So I'm going to let Jay Morrison's own work speak for himself. Okay. So this is Jay Morrison's website that he has created. This is a new venture that he has done after the fund has been, 4 years, I think, 5 years roughly.
Right.
And they're almost out of money. And we'll get back to that in a minute. But this is the new thing that he's gotten himself into. Now, look at this website. Now, when I run across websites like this, the first thing that comes to my thought is scam.
Right.
It looks scammy. It looks like a used car salesman trying to get a couple dollars here and there, which, I'm all about people going out there and teaching people how to do stuff. But the setup of this website is just,
that looks like some Charity Marcus shit.
Now I want to bring this up here, and this I think will speak volumes to Jay Morrison. Now this is the fund. This is the fund that people were donating to. Now I want to.
And clearly didn't pay attention to, and I have no clue why you're pulling that up. It's you have to wonder, well, why did her and Christy and the African ancestrals, why did they bring this guy to town? And we will never know how many people paid the $500 minimum. We know that Christy did because she said she did. We know Vanessa did because she said she did. We know Christy solicited other people, because there's this whole Facebook conversation in July where she got called out for bringing the scammer to town. And so it's like, here is another example of them doing something to kind of go after the chamber at the expense of the public as well, because they were willing to let people give $500 a head. I mean, what were they going to do? And then you have to wonder, so the people that were at the town hall that gave $500 minimums or more, we'll never know, were they under the belief that they were going to be group owners of the buildings? Right? You just go,
right.
What was the point of that?
Right.
I mean,
Now it was sold, from what I understand and from what I've read, it was sold as an 8% investment or an 8% return on the $500. With the buy-in was $500. So I think that's how they it was like, hey, you're going to get 8%, and then they started sending out little dividend checks. And I was reading where people were getting these $14 checks. Somebody had stated once, it's like, yeah, I got $114. And I'm like, well, you're still down $386.
Yeah. And you will be forever, because in the fine print, it's in the fine print that you will never, because the fund, I think, was supposed to reach a certain point. But if you look at the financials, all he did was spend a little bit on something, but he spent a lot on, it all went to himself. It went to lifestyle marketing, doing the things to kind of promote this. This is what we can all have, group lifestyle. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, so I picked this portion of this because I think this speaks a lot. Look at this. The principles of the manager of the company are as follows. Jay Morrison is he's the CEO. This man is the CFO. He's the COO and the CTO of a $12 million investment fund.
Allegedly. $12 million, right?
Well, that's what he says that he owes, and those were in the filings, all the way up to $12 million. When you go back to the beginning, and now today, he has spent like 4 times as much money as he gained in revenue. He spent that on general administrative costs and management.
Right, and recently
marketing.
mortgage. He bought, and he also bought this thing called the Black House in Atlanta, something that a couple people in Tulsa feel like they have part ownership in, and they should probably know now that he has mortgaged the Black House. So, and there's an independent audit that now says he's going to probably be bankrupt again within the next year. So he's not doing well, and
right. I mean, look at these numbers.
I know.
Look at these numbers. General administrative and marketing, $1.4 million, and rental income, $593,000. This was a real estate fund, y'all. He's bringing in $593,000 in rental income, and he's spending $1.4 million in administrative and marketing. While this dude is and I'll show it again. He is the CFO, the COO, the CEO, and the CTO.
The everything. And, I think the guy JT from Pocket Watching went through and did it like he was advising Jay through his bankruptcy. And I think every year for the last 4 years, it's like he lost $1 million, they lost $2 million. And now I think in just this last year, he's lost almost $3 million.
Right, yeah, like
really not lost it. He spent it, is what he did.
Right, because he owns the management, the company that manages the fund. He is the owner of.
Right.
He owns the marketing company that this fund is paying.
Right.
So he is siphoned off to his other companies, which are for profit, to do the marketing for this. And then now when he's down to almost nothing, as you can see here, he's negative $1 million here, negative 1.2 million the last year. I mean, he's running out of everything. When he does that, what does he do? Let me bring this back up. We'll show you what he does.
Yeah.
This is what he does. $11.11. By golly, you can do it yourself. Credit to cash flow. I want to point out. Look at the top here, and never use your own money again. Tell us, Jay. Tell us, Jay. Is that what the investment fund was for? So that you didn't have to use your own money again?
Yeah. I mean, his wife is an entertainer and an actress. I mean, they've been referred to on other stuff in Atlanta as TV personalities. So, I want to say that in July of 2022, this conversation in Tulsa came up in the District 1 community, and it came up all over Facebook in a feed or in a thread. Somebody was like, hey, where did all the money go? People in Tulsa that gave their hard-earned money, they want to know where it went. And so this woman explained how she hooked them up. Nobody from the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce or business owner on North Greenwood Avenue, none of those names were involved. But just to show you the level of kind of what I was talking about the other night of how they go after the chamber. When that was said and done, I don't know, a couple days later, the gal, Miss Williams, goes to the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce's Rebuilding Black Wall Street GoFundMe and gets on their GoFundMe and donates $5 and says, I donated my money just so that I can make a comment. And she says, don't donate to this fund. The money is not being used for the purpose stated. Get your money back. I donated so I could comment and sound the alarm. There's no accountability, and this is a con. And this is her getting on the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce's GoFundMe site for them to maintain those historic buildings. And they didn't have anything to do with that one right there. And then I saw it, and I gave some money right after, and then put a lengthy diatribe on there. I mean, it's like talking the pot calling the kettle black is what it is. It's like
right here.
Yeah.
So this is something that somebody should donate to?
Yes,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I'm gonna share the link in
Yeah,
there. Just I think it's fair to
you
do
know,
that. Let me.
they have received grants to repair the roof, and you don't get all that money at one time, and you have to get it in draws, and taking care of, just like the trumpet on Greenwood said the other night on the WFPG radio, he, historical
Yeah, you can
repair.
go ahead and shout out W whatever you said. Go ahead.
That historical repair, like for their air conditioner, for example, it's not like you
Right.
run down to Home Depot and get a part. These buildings are so old, it takes a certain kind of special kind of thing and repair, and you have to have somebody who knows how to do historic repairs to old buildings. And so, them just trying to break the bank in the back and do that, why nobody seems to know why bring this guy in, like, and try to buy the buildings and make this big publicity stunt about it, because they weren't for sale. And the only thing that really
Right.
ultimately came after that was that her chamber started its own little power group fundraiser thing, the Black Wall Street Power Group, where you can give so much a month, and she used the same verbiage as Jay, buy back the block. We can buy back Greenwood. We can buy it all back, and group economic stuff. And they think, and well, I know that's what they think, and they refer to this as the original blueprint. I've read the books like from Mary Jones Parrish, who was lived in Tulsa during the massacre, and I disagree. Because in her book she says, I wasn't attracted to Greenwood in 1921 when I moved there. It wasn't the idea that I could make a lot of money that attracted me to the area. It was the cooperative spirit that I saw amongst the community. And
Yeah.
there is no cooperative spirit going on if all you're trying to do is break the back of the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce. And to take it a step further, and I asked a good friend earlier today, I said, I want you to tell me, let's just hypothetically suppose that he would have been successful. Or let's just hypothetically say the chamber would have said, sure, we'll take your $1 million. And then he's got the buildings. What would that do to you when you woke up the next day and you realize the buildings are gone and they're not ours anymore? And then he lets them go into foreclosure, and then they just get demoed and all of that. And I mean, you have to really consider what kind of betrayal that would be for the Black community in Greenwood.
Right, because
That just happened.
every time something happens and then they try to rebuild, they end up getting screwed somehow. So after the massacre happened and all those buildings were burned up, once they finally started getting back to a place, they put in a damned highway right through the neighborhood. Which the best way to kill a town is to put a freaking highway through it, because then people just bypass all of that stuff. I mean, the guy that invented KFC, that happened to his convenience store. They put a highway and all the people that was going in there. So, and then now you have where they're finally getting to a place where they got that national park grant, the $500,000, and they started putting that back in there. All of a sudden, here comes this other group trying to, I guess, take over the whole situation. I don't understand it. I
don't either. I don't know where it's coming from. But it is, as somebody who's observed it and witnessed it, as somebody who's received some of those calls where people tell me I need to pick a side kind of stuff.
So weird.
It's just it's destroying a community from within side out is what it is. And it's really sad to watch. And you're what I don't really get about this whole group funding thing that she's got is yes, exactly. There's Miss Angela, my girl right there.
Um,
Sabotage. You better believe it. You had better believe it.
Who is Angela? Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
She's on North Greenwood Avenue, and she's part of the black owned first radio show in the country, and it's WFPG, and they are on Greenwood.
Nice.
And she
Nice.
is a fantastic lady. There's one of the hardworking business owners on Greenwood, God-fearing, living the dream and trying to, until the crew comes and tries to suck the life out of that street.
And I hate to do this again. I know this is kind of a side issue from this, but I've got to go back to this damn page and give me a second. If you see my head moving around, guys, it's not because I'm not paying attention. We have no producer. Like, I'm the producer, so everything I pull up,
the producer, yeah.
I have to go and find it and pull it up. So, forgive me. We aren't bought and paid for here at the Loudmouths, okay?
I want to know what problem Vanessa Hall-Harper has with Greenwood being owned by white people, for one, is my question. I understand Greenwood is a African-American community district, Black Wall Street, this and that, but there's a lot of white people out there that care about that shit too.
And I mean, she rents from their office space is where they rent office space from white people. So I don't know. It's a dog whistle. The only thing that I can make of it is it's a dog whistle.
Sounds like Charity Marcus.
Well, but here's the thing.
And that's right here.
Yeah.
Can you tell? Didn't Charity try to barter for some office space at Greenwood?
Yes.
Tell that story, please.
Well, that was it. I mean, she liked the chamber until she wanted to trade out services for office space. And, look, the chamber's got to pay bills. They have to pay for that. They're in a high tax district. Angela would know more about, the dollars on that one. But look, you can't just trade out when the Chamber of Commerce has got to pay a tax bill every year. They have to have businesses in there, and they're there to preserve. They're there to preserve the last vestiges, tangible vestiges of that 1921 history, where that was a successful black community. They were self-sufficient.
Right.
I was publicly schooled.
Lawyers.
I was publicly schooled, educated. So what does vestiges mean?
Tangible, something you can see it. It's there. And
okay.
Angela just said it's implied if it's owned by white people, the black people will lose it. Well,
that's bullshit.
My response to Vanessa Hall-Harper and that crew would be, you brought a black scammer to town, and you almost scammed Greenwood.
Right. Which is worse, or is it even worse, or any different? Where if you're being hurt by a white person or hurt by a black person, which one hurts worse? It's all the same to me.
That's if you're talking about, if we're using logic and argumentation, that kind of dog whistle is it's a cultural relativism, but it doesn't matter because I will use the ARPA example. If I can show that they misrepresented their tax status, right, to get the money, which they did, it's on paper, then to call me or say, no, that's not true and you're just a racist, well, that doesn't make sense as a response to my argument, right? I mean, my argument is valid and sound because I can prove it.
Yeah, I had Charity Marcus called me a racist too because I disagreed with her. So I get it, and it's sad that that's like the go-to. But
Charity won't even call me anything. I don't. It's weird.
It's never too late. Thus far, she has not.
Yeah, I mean, and I think here's maybe the most unfortunate thing is that I've looked at what Vanessa Hall-Harper has done for her district, and there are a lot of good things that she has done.
What are those?
Tell me one. Tell me one.
The Dollar General, she ran on the platform to get rid of the Dollar Generals, or at least to stop them from proliferating, because
Okay.
according to her, and I can't verify this. I don't know if it's true
She's
or
right
not.
about that dollar store.
But well, and I'm talking about the grocery store. She said that there hadn't been a grocery store in her district for like a long time, and they brought in this grocery store, and they got a zoning for that district that would prevent the dollar stores from coming in. So
Yeah.
you have these great things, and
That's that's, you said great things is in plural, but that's one
two
thing.
things. That's
Okay,
two things.
yeah, well, the two things is zoning part too, right?
Right, the zoning and the grocery store.
And so what else?
Oh,
I
she's
mean,
coming at you, Tim.
I don't know. I'm just saying that what she
What
ran
about
on.
the streets and the stormwater and the dogs running loose, and what
I
about
mean, we could
safety
nitpick all day
and all
long,
that
but
stuff?
I'm referring to something that was part of her platform that
Right,
she
right.
ran on, that
Sure.
she completed, which means that
Right.
to some degree she meant what she said when she was
Right.
running.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is that you can't. It's like, do what you need to do, but do it within the confines of the system that we have in front of us. You can't do all of this shenanigans trying to force your way through the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce. So I feel like at the end of the day, maybe her heart is in the right place. She just, it's like a bull in a china shop. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting to the end anyway. I don't care how I do it.
I don't know. Well, and that's a good point. Getting what I want, and I don't care how I do it, is clearly in play because
Right.
You were okay with cheating nonprofits all over our city so that yours, which wasn't even eligible, could get money. You were okay with cheating other people. You were okay with the Black community being, whoever donated, losing $500, whoever those people were, in the service of whatever you were trying to do against the Greenwood Chamber. And so that, now if you're just a regular average Joe doing it, we're just going to call you an asshole. But you're an elected official. You have a fiduciary duty to the public, and so far you're failing. Aside from the grocery store, you're failing your fiduciary duty to your constituents. And in fact, you're cheating them all to get yours. You're doing what's in your own self-interest. And and the people in District 1, they know it. And they know what's going on, and they feel powerless. And I get it. I feel powerless thinking about it.
Yeah,
Yes,
it sucks.
Crazy.
It
wrong.
sucks because the advocate that they sent there, and don't get me wrong, I'm not defending what she's doing.
Right.
I'm just saying that, like, I feel like that's what's happening with her, is that she has her eye on something and she just doesn't give a shit who gets hurt in the process, and that's not okay.
It's not okay if you're an elected official.
And it screws up all the good things you did. Right? I mean, it takes away from that.
It negates that.
It's like, man,
hey, are y'all done? I mean, can I say something?
Man, join in. You bull in the china shop. Go.
It feels like the Tim and Jennifer show. What does Angela Chambers do for a living again?
Oh my God, Angela does everything.
She does
everything. Her and Francetta own the Black radio show.
She looks familiar. Does she mess around with Alina? And did they produce that Alina? What was that show that Alina did? The little podcast thing. Alina Ashley and some white girl did this. What was it? Down on Greenwood or down on Black Wall Street. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh my gosh.
I have no idea.
Angela, if you're still on, her and Francetta Mays have the first Black women-owned radio station.
They should have us on. We need to go up there, Tim.
And they have other people on for their podcasts. They have different music stuff going on Fridays. It's,
What is the next process, the next step to this thing that we're doing? And to Vanessa, you really should have came on.
Well, here's what's interesting, and this afternoon I learned, I didn't know this, that I guess since the death of the Black Wall Street Chamber president, Sherry Gamble. She was killed last July, a year ago in July. And
What?
may she rest in peace.
Yeah.
She was the president of the chamber, Black Wall Street Chamber, and um,
Like killed on purpose? Like
yes,
I did murder
yes,
suicide or something. I
yes.
believe
And
it was.
so let's not get into those details, but may she rest in
oh,
peace.
let me write that down. I didn't know that. May she rest in peace. Yeah, whatever.
Absolutely. But she was the president of the Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce. She was the person who signed the application for round one ARPA funds. And they had not had a president, I guess, for the past year. And then I guess in July, there was a press conference where the chamber, they announced an interim president and that they were going to shut down and then relaunch on September the 1st. They haven't relaunched yet. And so I talked to Tim and some other people about this earlier today. They haven't relaunched yet. And so, but the person that has been named as the interim president, as I understand it, is good, solid people. She's been in the chamber biz for a while, and it looks like a good fit. And she has said, we're not in this to go after people. But here is the question now. Here is where, in my mind, this is where we're going to learn what you're made of then. Are you going to keep the same board of directors that signed off on that fraudulent application for ARPA funds that cheated other people out of money? Are you going to keep all those people? Because that includes William Taylsdale Jr., Christy Williams. It includes Vanessa Hall-Harper. I mean, all of the people.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Has it been proven, like a court has said, yes, they did sign off on fraudulent forms?
Well, I mean, it's all in the application. It says if you're doing this, you have to look.
But has the court convicted them of that?
No.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
they're alleged charges. But what she's saying is
it says it on the application.
Yeah,
if
you can.
If you don't do an X and Y and Z, or if you sign this an X and Y and Z,
okay,
you are.
Okay.
So, I mean, they all signed off electronically on an application for COVID relief funds, and they all signed off on stating they were a 501c3 when in fact they all knew they were a C6, and they let it go through. So, at the interim president. So the question now, the next move, the question now is, okay, I don't know how nonprofits work in this way. Does that mean, is she going to keep those same people? Do they reorganize and bring in different people? Because she seems like a pretty sharp lady, and I've seen some of the people she's friends with, and these are good people. And so how are you going to do that chamber if you keep the same old people, that older crew, original crew that was willing to cheat people?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but yes, I think it's worth saying that nobody has been charged with a crime. No court has convicted anybody.
But they are under investigation.
Well, just hold on. The documents speak for themselves. You can go look them up. We've posted them already, so you're welcome to make your own thoughts about that. But you're saying that they are under investigation?
They are in. There are 2 open files with the federal government, the IRS and the Office of Inspector General. So,
yeah, I mean,
I got the letters because I filed the complaint.
Right.
And it states it on all of the DOJ websites. If you misrepresent your taxes.
What is it that you have against the Black Wall Street Chamber of Commerce, Jennifer?
I don't have anything against that. It was the fact that people were thinking about applying for round 2 COVID relief funds and saying, what's the point for me to even apply when I know that Vanessa Hall-Harper is just going to give the money to her friends, and I'm not going to, when when people in the community are saying, what is the point of me participating when that elected official is going to just say, screw them, I'm going to give the money to my friends? I mean, that's a pretty low kind of attitude. That means she has had an effect on the public. She has quelled, either their voice or a service, and she's quelled their desire to participate in the public in the way that they normally do. And
I have one more question for you. I have one more question for you, and then I'll leave it up to y'all. But I can stay on here all night. And just a real fun fact: I thought that Vanessa Hall-Harper was white. I thought she was Lori Dector Wright.
Well, I mean, they might as well be the same person.
Anyway, but that's not the question. The question is, have you heard? You're in District 1, correct?
Me? No, I'm District 9.
Okay, so have you talked to your city councilor about this, and what is their opinion of this? Or have you heard from any other city councilors on this issue?
My city councilor, I made my city councilor aware of what I discovered.
Who's your city councilor?
Councilor Fowler.
I like Jamie Fowler. He's a good dude.
I told him from the get-go, I said, you don't have to respond to this. I don't want to put you in a hokey spot. This was in 2022. This is what I found I think is wrong. I've requested these documents. I've gotten them, and I'm going to submit something to the AG because, I don't know what to do with the stuff that I found. I just know that something went wrong. So it's that, I made him aware, and what, I didn't expect him to agree or disagree with me because he's on the city council, so
I
there
have
were
a question.
people downtown that helped me get some things sent to different places. I will tell you that.
So I have a question. The filing that I saw, and I have it here somewhere, but what was the date on that filing? Their tax filing.
Which one? What are you talking about?
The filing that shows them as a 501c3, the one that you had sent me.
Yeah.
What's the date on that one?
That was I think 2019.
2019.
The one from the bookkeeper.
Right. And now, have you seen their initial tax filing? Because I couldn't find their 990.
Well, there's one from 2018. Congratulations, you're now a C3. And yeah.
So it does say that they are a C3 in 2018?
Yes, and 2019.
Okay, so...
But by July 2020, they changed their status to C6.
Before or after the vote?
July 2020 is before they even did the request for proposals.
Okay.
They were they were already changed over to C6
Gotcha.
exempt status.
Okay.
So does that mean that they were trying to get the money to start the new chamber and then switched afterwards?
Listen,
No,
at
so
no time.
they switched before.
Oh, they switched before.
Yes.
That's horseshit. That's horseshit then. That's horseshit.
So what they
were not per all the city's rules, everything on the city's website. It's in RFP. It says C3 everywhere. That's the requirement. And
right.
They submitted an application under the pretense that they were a C3, when in fact they were not a C3. They were a C6.
Because chambers have to be a C6, correct?
I don't know if they have to,
yeah.
I mean,
because you could name yourself a chamber and not be a chamber.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, let me ask you this: when was that vote? Like, what was the day that the ARPA funds were voted on to see who got what?
Well, they spent the fall and January of 2021 up to March or April. This 4-person committee that Vanessa was on, sifting through 200 or so applications.
And when was the application deadline?
The application deadline was February 19th, 2021.
2020. Okay. The reason I ask is because there could have been a delay in the time that they got their filing that where they changed it in 2020.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to, play devil's advocate here.
Listen,
So
I tried to play devil's advocate. I did that. I tried to do it at every corner because I really just couldn't believe what I was looking at. So I told, like I said the other day, I tried to prove myself wrong. I did that devil's advocate thing, and there was no other way to look at it. And then when I realized, wait a minute, this is the same thing that she tried here. This is the same thing she tried here. So no, I'm not surprised. And so then you're on a committee. You weren't supposed to apply, and you knew your application was in the mix, and you never said a word. I mean, it's like, oh, okay. But then the voting on the money part was a wholly separate thing, and that happened in June.
And she did recuse herself for that, though, for what that's worth.
For the $6.5 million to be allocated. And then sometimes, if people should go back and look at that meeting. It was on June 2nd, 2021. And they should watch the latter half of that meeting. Vanessa Hall-Harper is the council chair of that meeting. And they're going to do a vote on something called Historic Main Street District Program. And there's some people from the Greenwood Chamber there. And what's important, I think, about that meeting is to watch and listen to what Christy Williams says speaking about that agenda item. Because A, she doesn't even speak to that agenda item. B, she goes over the time limit. And C, she doesn't even address the council. She is in a crowd of people that are kind of urging her on, and she is publicly shaming members of the Greenwood Chamber and business owners on Greenwood and calling them out for their political affiliation. It was the worst kind of violation of city council meeting rules. You can hear them giggling on the mic. And it's the ugliest thing I have ever seen. But that was probably, for me, the moment I knew that Vanessa and Christy and their little clique of people, they knew they could do anything they wanted.
What are the other council members doing while this is going on?
Well, per council rules, somebody was supposed to shut that down, and they didn't.
Who didn't?
The meeting chair or any other council could have called some kind of point of order, or could have said to her, you're not speaking to the topic, or they could have said to her, you're supposed to address the council. But that's not what happened. I just go look and watch, because this little gal Christy is one of the bigger voices that does a lot of the public shaming with the chamber, Greenwood Chamber, and it is so unmerited and it is so ugly. She's the one that goes on their GoFundMe sites and says, "Don't donate here," and it's the ugliest behavior I've ever seen.
Right. Pull up Marines. This is where I get. Just say it.
Who were the other counselors on at the time? Phil Lakin, Counselor Fowler, Jeannie Q, Counselor Patrick, Lori Dector Wright. Who else was on there? Connie Dodson. Though they were all there, and I think they didn't say a word. And
that's cowardness.
Well, they really violated the council rules in a really bad way. And
we're seeing that now with Ron Durbin, that they will do that, and
I mean,
and then arrest you.
I felt really bad because there were 3 times there in that time period where I was encouraging them. I'm like, look, if you want your voice heard, go down there. You've got to make your voice heard. But then every time they did, I mean, the public shaming in that council meeting hall was awful. And I felt terrible. I felt terrible for suggesting it. But I didn't know, I thought, well, you either say something or you don't and expect they're going to come after you. And Vanessa even called one of them an extortionist over something that wasn't even the case. So
which is crazy, considering she was talking up old dude with this this website, and I'll just pull it up here one more time.
Let's
give
make
me
him
just a second.
famous, dude.
I'm gonna pull this up, and we're just gonna look at this one more time. This is, never use your own money again, Jay Morrison.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's never been using his own money. So
right.
he's
Well,
using
not since he was out of prison,
right.
because
Exactly.
he was a 3-time felon, wasn't it?
Yes.
Drugs. He was
3
a drug dealer.
All he did was transfer the drug dealer hustle to a money hustle. I mean, a hustler is always going to be a hustler.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt in my mind. Listen, Vanessa's a good hustler. There's no doubt in my mind, though, he had a whole other hustle in his own mind that was going to happen. That didn't have to do with her.
What's wild to me is while it's so obvious to look at that and just have so many weird questions like how does somebody look at this? But he's good at it in terms of hiding this inside of the system that makes it where it's not technically fraud. Where, well, it's an investment. You may lose your money. So then the only way that you can prove that he is scamming or fraudulent is to prove intent. Like, what was intent when he started the fund? But what he was doing thereafter appears to be perfectly legal, which is a problem. Right. That's a whole other issue. But
right. Well, caveat. What is it? Caveat emptor or impetor, where buyer beware. The Latin phrase for buyer beware. Well, exactly. That's okay if it's just him. But if you're an elected official and you bring that guy to town and you tell people, let's start a fund, donate to this guy, let's get him to take control of the buildings, and he's on the news saying and demanding, he even uses a word, we are demanding they relinquish it. You're the elected official or the appointed board commission person for the African American affairs. When you bring that guy to town, no, you're responsible now because you brought that dude here.
Do you think that she profited? Did she profit off that, you think? Just opinion.
I can't know that.
I don't know. Yeah. I really don't. I think what she will get what she wants to get out of it. And if it made the chamber look bad, if it permitted her to say, use some of the same verbiage. Well, now we have a power group. You can donate to our power group and we can buy back the block. See,
it's the same argument. Yes, it's the same argument. And I think the saddest takeaway for me here is that they both appear to be playing on this, you guys have been screwed over so many times. I'm here to save you.
It's called affinity fraud, or the trauma bond affinity fraud.
It's just so gross. That's like, somebody having a trauma in their life, and then here come the vultures to just eat it up. It's like, man, it's gonna be easy.
That it really actually pisses me off that here's a guy who comes in. We didn't go over this very much, but my great uncle, he had 2,200 acres. That was his farm before it was even Greenwood, right? And so to have this outsider come in and say, well, we're demanding our land back. I'm just like, who are you? You're not even from Oklahoma. You're not even native to talk. I mean, it's like, what are you talking about? You've never been here. You don't know what the people in North Tulsa and Greenwood have been through. You don't know what they go through every day, and you want to come run this stuff. And I feel bad. And to your question, Ron, about what the next move is, to get back to that, Miss Williams is a mayoral appointee on the Greater Tulsa. I think it's an African American Affairs Commission, and there's just so much, and including being part of the board of directors of the Black Wall Street Chambers that submitted that ARPA application. In my mind, if you're not going to be removed from the board of directors there, then you should be removed from the GTAC. And that is part of a city ordinance. That's a fairly new ordinance. And we've got some people in it's called Greater Tulsa Coalition that supports Greenwood that have typed up a letter asking the mayor to remove her because she has violated the very things in the ordinance that she's supposed to do in serving the city, which is helping to educate the broader community about Black people, the culture, and all of that stuff. You know, I mean, but she's definitely behaved badly. When I go through the list in the ordinance of what somebody appointed to that kind of commission can do, she's violated every single one of them.
Is she going to run again?
Who? Vanessa?
Yeah.
I have no idea, but there's a whole separate other group of people that if she is, they're talking about a citizens grand jury petition.
Well,
I don't
here's what I can say about that whole situation is that the unfortunate bystanders here are the people in that community. They are in the middle of, you know, this vendetta, whatever it is. I have no idea because I've reached out in good faith to Vanessa to allow her to at least explain what the hell happened that got her on the, you know, to go after the Greenwood in the first place. Everybody has a reason to do something, and I'd like to hear her reason, but all of that is hurting everybody, the same people that she claims that she wants to help. So
Right.
If she had issues with the Greenwood leadership, then she should have gone through the proper channels to fix that. That's already there. She needs to squash the beef, whatever it is, and get back on track with fixing that area. She doesn't have to be in control of it. She can be a part of building it back up. That's what she should be doing.
Well, that's what normal people do. And you know, I mean, in my neighborhood, in our square mile, there, and just to answer Maureen's question, that letter, was it sent to the current mayor? The answer is not yet, but it's on the list.
Be.
And, you know, in my neighborhood, there are different contexts, even within my neighborhood. And sometimes we fight like cats and dogs, but we are still a neighborhood. And so there's still some foundational, fundamental things that we will always be on the same page about. And we don't try to, you know, go after each other. We help each other.
Right.
So, I mean, people like to throw this word unity around a lot. I don't think that's a really weird, loose term. I mean, you don't have
Vanessa Hall-Harper doesn't want unity.
She doesn't.
Well, it's
her middle name is divisive.
Yeah, but see, she, you know, eagles don't fly with crows, Ron.
Exactly.
But do eagles fly with vultures? I don't know.
I think so. I don't know.
I don't know, but you know what? A little cooperation. Mary E. Jones Parrish, who lived through the massacre, wrote that first book. The spirit of cooperation. That doesn't mean that you have to like people. It's about a principle that attracted her. There was an operative principle that she seemed to be attracted to, underscoring what was holding it together. And it wasn't anything like what you see happening now. I mean,
right.
It just amazes me, and I feel sometimes powerless, and it's really and if you don't go down to North Greenwood Avenue and buy stuff from the bodega or the t-shirt shop or Frios or wherever, if you're never down there, it's hard to really get a good understanding and really recognize.
You
can't feel it. You can't. You can't understand it.
My dad took me down there my whole life. Something about you're going to get your feet on this concrete. I know now why later, but it's a
culture.
It's a whole different experience to be there and to see the business owners in action.
Have you been there, Tim?
Yeah, at some point, yes, but I never made regular trips to there.
Yeah, I went down there a couple of years ago.
Oh no, you got to go now because people are down there all the time now, all the time.
Well, next time I'm in town, I'm going to go there. I'm going to make a trip down there. I go to Tulsa once a month, and I'll be sure and go there and spend a few dollars. That's my way to donate to the chamber. Okay,
absolutely.
To support those businesses.
Go into Black Wall Street Teas and Souvenirs and say Jennifer told me to come in and ask for Cleo.
All right,
Cleo.
They're great people. Those are some of the best hardworking people, and they're doing the spirit they're there to preserve the spirit of deep Greenwood. They call that
And
deep
that
Greenwood.
is, I want to point out, that is the purpose of this chamber, is to
Yeah.
preserve and put tenants in those buildings that
Right.
have that cultural connection, that want to
Right.
keep it that way. That's the point of it.
Right. And they, you can see it. If you're down there, you can feel it. You can see it in their eyes that they know that what they are carrying, it's not a burden, but it is really a heavy responsibility. You're not just a business owner. You are a business owner on the historical 100 block of North Greenwood Avenue. That's a pretty big thing and responsibility, and they take it on willingly, lovingly, and they do great. It's just that they have these group of people who, for God only knows why, have made it their mission to attack them with zero merit whatsoever, and they've heard a lot
I've seen no reason. I've
zero.
I haven't done as much research as you, but I literally spent all day and yesterday looking this up. I mean, it was just hours and hours of this, and I couldn't find any reason for this to happen. So to Vanessa, I'll just say, please bring those, while you're still in there, bring those grocery stores into your district, because they need them. Keep doing those things and work with these other people. That's what we got to do.
Can I say this? I don't know if this is my understanding. North Tulsa was rough. I mean, grocery stores wouldn't go into North Tulsa because of gang stuff, and they wouldn't go in there. So North Tulsa people had to travel outside of North Tulsa or to Owasso to get groceries because nobody would go in there.
Right. If you could travel. If you couldn't travel,
yeah.
What you were eating was crap from Dollar General, because that's all they had access to.
Right.
It's a major problem.
I'll say good on Vanessa for that. I don't like Vanessa, but I do like black people.
Well, I mean, think of groceries, and food is the most basic thing in life. If you have access to good, nutritious food, that can change your whole demeanor and your energy and, the way you feel about stuff.
But you also need to live in a safe neighborhood.
Well, absolutely.
You need to be able to live in a walkable neighborhood. You need to be able to have streets that aren't falling apart. You need to know that the city is going to come and pick up all the dogs that are running loose, so they don't eat up little kids that are trying to play outside.
And we know the city can do it because they do it on the other parts of town.
Exactly. And now, when I call my city councilor, when the street lights out, boom, it's done.
Right.
I mean, that's part of their job. That's to do those things. And so, I don't know what else it is that I don't know. I don't know. There's just so much. There's so much to go into. But this one was. Go ahead.
I was going to say, but we're doing it right now. That's what needs to be done. We need to be talking about it. We need to have the conversations about it. We need to have these difficult conversations with different cultures, because North Tulsa is completely different from Owasso or Warner or where Tim's at, or maybe not. Maybe it's like where Tim's at, but we have to have these conversations and bring people together. We have to bring them together,
because we are all still neighbors.
Yeah, and just like with Ron's situation right now, where he put eyeballs on stuff and things started getting done, we're putting eyeballs on this issue, and maybe the people that are involved with this will change, will stop, will think about it twice. Who knows? But we have to try. I mean, that's all you can do.
You're right. Well, and that's it. That's just the thing. It's one of those things where you have to, if you're thinking, okay, I'm recognizing a problem here, am I going to do anything? And if you feel compelled to do something, you have to do it without any expectation of what will happen after.
That's
it. I've
just
seen and experienced so much, and I've seen it in my friends down at Greenwood, the angst and what is imposed upon them, and I just I'm just like, okay, if the media's not going to talk to them. And
Well, that's where we come in.
yeah, and so for you guys to ask me, you bet I got plenty of stuff.
I'll say,
Yeah.
10 parts to this.
Two
I'll say-
assholes and you can get things stirred up, okay?
right. And I'll say this we've had so many people watching consistently while
Yeah.
we've been doing the show, but y'all are assholes because only 2 or 3 people did comments or questions. Maybe engage, maybe ask questions.
Yeah, if you have a question, ask it. If there's something that you want, some other part of this thing.
Thank you, Maureen. Maureen's one of the ones
yeah.
that's been asking everything. Yeah.
Thank you, Maureen. We need another Betsy Horowitz, God rest her soul, to help with North Tulsa. There will never be another advocate as passionate as that woman. She's a legend in the city. Can you speak to that? Because I don't.
I don't know who Betsy Horowitz
Yeah,
is.
I don't know who
she's
that is.
obviously Jewish, but I don't know who she is.
I don't. And when
Chat GPT will know.
Yeah, let's
1
find out.
second.
Let's
Okay.
pull up who. I want to know who Betsy is now.
We're going to see if Chat GPT knows who.
Thank you for that comment, Maureen.
Yes, thank you. Because we're looking right now.
I don't know.
Horowitz.
When I learned the stuff that I did about my great uncle, and he was the leader of the Delaware tribe, and so he came here to town. And this is just while you're looking that up or whatever. And his ranch was Greenwood before it was Greenwood, and
Was he given that land by the government?
No, this is pre stuff. So yes, he bought this land actually from the Cherokees. It's a very difficult chapter to try to explain. It's about 156,000 acres. So he came here in 1882, put up the first tent store, and then came the Hall people and the Owens and all them. Anyway, but when Tulsa began to incorporate, you can see in the land records where they're annexing neighborhoods sort of west of the railroad tracks, what becomes Greenwood, and he's annexing or turning it over to somebody who's giving it to the city. And so what I've been able to deduce so far in the land records is that if they were west of the tracks, that's where Greenwood is. But the stuff that he was either selling or deeding over to people east of the tracks off of Lansing, those documents, deeds, whatever you call them, they say at no time in the future will you ever deed this over to someone of Negro blood. And
wow.
When I said the other night, my great uncle,
I can't believe you said the word Negro.
Well, that's what it said in the
quote.
document. That's just a quote from the deal. And so
okay,
I said the other night, my G3 uncle, who was Delaware Indian, participated in the systematic part. That's participating. If you're only selling over here for this and here for this,
and he was the one that added the stipulation.
What? Right. Well, yes, and so that's interesting. What's it? And
wow.
And he had a great big house right there off of Norfolk and Lansing, and it's in one of those awful postcards where it shows Greenwood is burning, and then there's his White House. And I go through those.
Do you feel some type of like something?
Tell this story, or are you willing to tell that story?
What story?
About the story we talked about the other day with the survivors.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Here's what happened. It's at that same June 2nd meeting.
Do I know this story?
I don't know.
Probably not.
Okay,
but it's a great story. Yeah. Listen up. This
let me hear. Yeah,
and I verified this, and I actually brought this up to her because I was Googling, doing my due diligence, and I'm like, hey, I read about you in a news article. Jennifer.
Yeah, listen, nobody in my family knew about this guy, George Bullitt. We'd never heard of him, and I figured it out June 2nd, I don't know, a few hours before that very city council meeting, right, where they're going to vote to apologize for the massacre, whatever it was. I had learned he was my great 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 uncle, and he graduated from the Carlisle Industrial School of, kill the Indian, save the man, right? So he was from one of those, and then he was a Tulsa pioneer, and then I happened
What?
upon this little thing called Bullet Park on the east side of Highway 75, and then when you look over across, you go, oh my God, there's Greenwood, right? And then I googled his name, and everything came up, and by then it was time to leave, and so I went down to that city council meeting to make a comment about, this thing you're doing with apologizing. I don't think it's good enough, whatever. And I don't know why or how, but I didn't really know what to say, but I just suddenly just came out with it and said, I don't think it's good enough. Hey, look, my kin, or whatever I said, participated in some of this. And I don't think this thing about, apologizing is good enough. And it just came out. And from then on, I began looking into land records. I'm still going through land records, finding how much land that he had. And I went to the Greenwood Cultural Center, and there was because my thought was, you know what? There are three living survivors. Talk about apology. We got 3 living survivors of the race massacre. And it was very heavy on my heart to think, you know what? I felt like they were owed an apology, a I mean, the city took 6 months to figure out how to say they're sorry, right? It's like everybody's taking all this time, and then I had made this connection from my family past, and suddenly it didn't seem like 100 years ago to me, right? I was right there in it. Wow. In my family history. And so I did. This lady at the cultural center helped me kind of process to make sure my intentions were right. And I said, but hey, look, we have this thing where these people are over 100 years old, and we can't let them go without somebody saying, I'm sorry that my family was part of this, right? And so that's what I did, and I was able to reach out and contact them and and tell them, it stops with me. I'm sorry that this is what happened.
So you really feel.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
I felt like it was important. If they never got a nickel of reparations, it seemed important for them to know or have an apology from somebody who was a descendant of that land, who participated in the systematic part, right? It seemed important to say, if nothing else, I want you to know that I apologize for what happened from my family and my ancestors. And I just did, just like filing the ethics complaint. That's just how I roll. It was the right thing to do, right? That's what I did. And I go through now and I look at the land records and I find all these parcels, and I think, you know what? If this parcel's empty, I think that we should find somebody who is a victim and get it back to them. See, I'm thinking now, if he owned all this different land, how can we get it to some people that are descendants?
I have the same question Maureen does, but I also have another one for you. But pull up Maureen's first, if you don't mind, Tim.
Yep. Do you think there should be reparations? Is the question.
I mean, that's like saying, how do you feel about this? I mean, what do you mean when you say, do I?
Right. How do you fix something that big of a fuck up?
Right. Like, that is
nothing could ever be enough.
I mean, I've had people say to me, where's my check then? I heard you say this, so give me my land back or my check. And I mean, I think that's a ridiculous and ignorant thing to say.
That reminds me actually of a video of Rhonda Smith where she was screaming at that pastor, getting in front of him when he was talking,
Mm-hmm.
because the people around him were handing him dollars. Here,
Yeah.
I'll pay for your reparations. Somebody pulled out their credit card, and I'm like, you people are disgusting.
Yeah, I mean,
Nasty.
reparations. Well, I mean, that is a big question that is out of my wheelhouse. And if I were able to get my hands on some of the old parcels from my family that were there, absolutely, I'd go look up, and I
This
would.
is I was
I'd be
fixing
trying
to.
and that would be my form of saying, look, my if I
Right.
had the capacity to do it, I absolutely would.
Because
Okay, Maureen,
in that instance, you are undoing something that was done instead of just giving some, whatever. So I pulled this up. So I had grandfathers that fought in the Civil War. I do not feel that I owe anyone reparations for what happened all those years ago. I mean, that's your right to feel that way.
Right.
Here,
You know,
and well,
I-
and I'll
it's-
Yeah.
I'll say
Go for it,
this.
Ron.
I'll say this. I'm right there with Maureen, and that was going to be my next statement. Was listen, you can go throughout history. People do shitty shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't go to Japan and ask little Japanese kids for reparations for bombing Pearl Harbor.
Right.
right.
I understand the feelings you have, and that's a good feeling you have, because that means you're past that point in society where we did bad shit and we learned from our mistakes and we've moved forward, and now we're progressing on.
Well, I mean, I get what you're saying. I really do. But if you look at World War One, when Germany had lost, then came the Treaty of Versailles, which strangled the German economy because they were forced
It
to
started
pay
World
back.
War II.
Right. They were forced to pay back what they had basically taken or stolen. And in this instance, it's a slightly different scenario because you've got different people in the same country where one group, not the same group that exists today, but one group put a stranglehold on this other group so that they couldn't build generational wealth. So now they're struggling when the other ones aren't. And it's all about maintaining some kind of equilibrium,
Well,
just like
there-
they did with.
There's something to be said. I'm going to interrupt you guys about this. There's something to be said, when I talk to people, and if you weren't from Tulsa and you didn't have kin in Tulsa in 1921, naturally, you don't really feel a proximity to it, right? Of course, it was 100 years ago or whatever people say.
Right.
When I saw that postcard with my kin's house on it, and it says running the Negro out of town, I didn't feel like that was 100 years ago. That was my great uncle.
But that wasn't you, though, Jennifer.
I understand that it wasn't me. I don't feel responsible for that.
Thank you for clarifying. Yes.
Okay, but the proximity in knowing that was my kin's home right there when everything else is burning. And so it took me there, and so that it took me back there, like my dad, get your feet on the concrete. And so it's really, now you're not removed from that situation. You can't just say, oh, well, those are those other people and that happened. No. If you're any person of a grain of salt and you see something like that and you know that was your kin even that long ago, it does affect you. And so, I don't know if it's about a reparations for me, but I listen, I love my friends on Greenwood. My journey from the last couple of years, my life is so enriched from being willing to accept that part of my history and hook up with people and become friends and establish relationships with people from my home turf. We're all from the same home turf. So,
And you feel like what you're doing is the right thing to do, and for you, that it's the right thing to do. That's how you feel,
apparently
right?
so.
I mean,
Apparently
so-
I don't have a whole lot of time to do anything I don't want to do.
right. Well, I say that because not everybody is going to feel like that's the right thing to do, and
Right.
nobody here is going to judge anybody else for not feeling the way that she's feeling. I
Right.
think that's
Yeah,
fair
I
to
mean,
state.
I don't have any guilt. It's not like a guilt thing or oh my god, I'm trying to get. Yeah, it's just I
Right.
just once I knew that when I looked my friends in the eye that own businesses on Greenwood, it's different. It's different because it's just a different altogether because I know how we're connected. And
It would be like being Hitler's great great grandson or something.
I don't know, but
But you're running an orphanage for Jewish children.
I know they appreciate my integrity about it, and so
Right.
they know that my heart is in the right place, and I love those people, and
Right.
I absolutely loathe seeing someone from their own district, their own community,
Doing the yeah.
destroying what they have going on from the inside out.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think it's important to point out because of what you've come out to say and what people are going to try and say about why you're doing it or whatever. It's important for them to understand your history. I'm sorry, Ron. Go ahead.
well, I was going to say you have like stories from Tim. You may be able to speak to this. I've heard stories about Native American tribes stealing other Native American tribes, women and children, and selling them off. I mean, people, every culture and society, I don't give a shit what it is, black, white, red, whatever. People are horrible. We're horrible people.
We are mere mortals. Yes.
Right. We
Yeah.
make mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes to Native Americans and the land was with the women. So, the white man that stinted our gene pool was a federal marshal hunting down Mr. Bullett's somebody in the gene pool. He was going to hunt her down for something, and he came back married to her because he knew she had all this land. And speaking of which,
Wow.
you guys, their house is still standing off the highway between Talala and Nowata and Watova. There's
Oh,
this
wow.
old
Okay.
white house that looks like it's about to fall over, and the white man in my family that stunted the gene pool and married the Indian.
I kind of take offense to that.
That's how. I mean, what's interesting is people make jokes about when I was born. I had blonde hair, right? And
Yeah, you don't look native or anything other than
like my
like German
brother-
white right now.
coal black hair. If you look at the pictures on my Facebook page of my kin, you can tell they're Native American. And I don't know what happened. I came out with fire engine red hair that had white tips, and then I was bald for a while. And now
Uh-oh.
it's still blonde. I don't know. So I used to go to Indian school in the summer, and the Indian kids would make fun of me. And, I don't know. We're getting way off topic. The topic
Yeah.
here is
We are.
Greenwood.
Greenwood.
People in Greenwood.
I have to say this though. For those that don't know, this is surprising. I'm 86% French,
Uh-huh.
and that explains why I'm an asshole. But my sister, she is Cherokee, and she looks almost like you. She has red hair, green eyes, blue eyes, and but she's got a Cherokee card. But I think Tim would say somebody paid for her shit to get in, whatever. But
She got that Kevin Stitt dog's roll number.
Kevin, yeah, the DOS roll.
Like, we were talking to the commission the other day. We got the hookup, y'all. So bad. Anyway, well, guys, that will wrap it up for today.
Gosh, we talked for a
went
long time.
Yeah, we went 38 minutes over what we had intended to, but it felt like we needed to keep going, so I'm good with it. Jennifer, do you have anything else? And Ron?
I don't, but I would like to say, Jennifer, I hope that we have you back on in a couple of weeks just to update people and just keep this going.
You said we were going to do this in 3 parts.
Yeah, I think we have to do this. Yeah,
we do, because there is one more big major point chapter to do, and it has to do with Black Lives Matter painted on the street and how it to use a Hall-Harper term, how it yokes up with the historic Greenwood Main Street program.
I can't stand that word as much as I can stand the word.
Thank you,
woke.
Mike. Thanks for watching. Before we go, I have to let Vanessa say it herself.
Say it
I'm
again.
not going to yoke up with crooks.
God.
You don't
Come
see eagles
on.
flying with crows.
No.
Okay, and so that's the reality. And if you can't stand in front of the community and be transparent and be held accountable, then I can't roll with you.
Right.
Vanessa, I couldn't agree with you more.
Absolutely agreed.
Tim, we need to clip that and Ryan Walters saying woke liberal mob into like a mix beat or something.
She has something interesting she would like to share, but I have to make sure that I get it approved before I do. Okay. You reach out to any of us.
Absolutely.
Honestly. Any
Why
one of
did
us.
she have to get it approved? You have to get it approved?
I don't know.
Yeah,
She
who do
didn't
you have
say.
to approve it through? Like Jesus or what? What's going on?
I mean, everything has to be approved through Jesus. Come on, Ron.
Hey,
I
with
mean,
all
I thought you
things,
guys were the real Ron, and Tim, and you could say whatever you wanted to. So.
right? Yeah.
No, we can't. I mean, we'll blast it out. I don't.
See, I'm going to
we'll
wake
see.
up tomorrow and be like, I wonder what Maureen was going to say. Did she get it approved? And are they going to tell us?
Well, we'll all catch up with Maureen after maybe tomorrow or the next day once that's approved. And we'll be having Jennifer on again. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe onto Loudmouth on Facebook.
Loudmouth.
Loudmouth on YouTube, because yet again, I just want to clear the air. This is the Loudmouth show. Ron has his own show. So when we're on here together, it's Loudmouth.
And please go to the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Go to their website on Facebook.
And go donate.
Support the Greenwood Chamber. Support the radio station. The Greenwood Beat. I mean,
what's the call letters again?
WFPG. Is that right, Angela?
They need to contact us.
The Greenwood Beat.
They need to have the Loudmouth on there.
The Greenwood Beat, WFPG. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it in there because I already
Here
linked.
she is. Yeah, Greenwood Beat, WFPG. Thank you, Angela.
I already linked to the donation page. If if you got $5, as she says it earlier in that clip that I didn't add, everybody's got $20.
Everybody got $20.
If you got,
you better ask somebody.
I guess.
Wow.
Sorry, I love black people. I really do.
Well, I mean, look. I appreciate that you guys have had me on here. It's still kind of weird to be able to have a forum. There's the other one. Yeah.
There it is. Historic. Yeah. Okay.
I'll write it out. And
they have a market on Saturdays, and
thanks for everybody that was watching too. We had so many people watching all the time.
Call your city councilors.
Yes.
And say, look, it's time to stop policing your own ethics complaints. If you think that somebody should be removed from a board or commission, there's an ordinance for that. I mean, you can't let this stuff go, or it will get out of control. And this deal with the Vanessa and company, it has gone on for so long that it is almost beyond repair, and yet in one fell swoop it could be fixed. That's possible. It's always possible. I mean,
Jennifer, the last thing I want to say to you is you look cute, you look good, but you look worn out. You need to get some sleep. Quit doing research.
I my mom all the day, so yeah.
Put the phone down. Go love on your mama, but you need to get some rest. Tim, you need to shave this shit, dude. Come on now.
That ain't happening.
Damn Viking.
That ain't happening. But what we are gonna do is no, not that. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. God.
Are you pulling up a picture of me in an ankle bracelet?
No, this right here, but it's not working. Sorry, y'all.
Charity Marcus.
There we go.
Charity Marcus.
Charity Marcus.
I love Charity Marcus. She got me blocked on every social media platform there ever is.
She was in all that, and I don't
understand that part.
I don't either. I don't either.
other than just a operative for somebody.
Right. It's
Operative.
like, hey, we need another warm body. Charity, come on. So keep that in mind next time you go to the next Tulsa County GOP meeting and you talk to Rhonda.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, that is going to be it for today. Please come back, follow us and catch the next episode with Jennifer. Jennifer, it has been a pleasure, and
you.
we
It
will
really has.
see you later. All right, everybody.
Okay.
Peace.
See ya.